Welcome to Picking Principles. I'm here today with a confession. In my previous video, I mentioned that I found spools easy to pick. The confession being there are only two of them, and two spools is no way to judge a spool. So I've got this Sparrows practice lock pinned up with 5 spools, and the bitting for this lock you may be familiar with from my other videos is high to low. So the first pin is higher and it goes lower. Pin 3 you barely touch. 1, 2, 3. Pin 4 is a little higher, and then pin 5 is all the way up. And I'll tell you that in setting pin 5, I often will bump up pin 3 or pin 4. I'm just maybe not good enough to pick an individual pin that way. I've used my other pick. This one's a pretty shallow pick. I've also used a deeper pick. Let me just get it out and show you. I've used this one to do it as well. It's got a bit of a deeper hook. The problem I find by using the deeper hook, the one on the bottom, is that I have a hard time getting under some of the low pins. So I've pretty much been practicing exclusively with this hook. Now, I picked this quite by accident, I want to say, a couple times. And I thought I had it. But it took me a long time the first time. And by long time I mean hours. Like I was relentless and I kept trying to get at it. And then I couldn't pick it. It took me a day, and I maybe picked it one more time. And so my confession is that every time I've picked this thing up until today, it's been luck. And even though people have said, don't pick one lock over and over again because then you just learn how to pick a lock, not locks in general, I've been focusing on this one pretty exclusively. Now I've probably got 10-15 locks in my lock box. And the other day I was getting frustrated with this one, just my lack of progress. So I grabbed every single lock in my lock box and I picked them all. And then I got to this one and I got stuck again. So what did I do? Well, I do have a key. I pulled them out. I started putting in just a single pin and feeling how they worked. Because obviously I don't have a feel for spools. I put in a single spool in each of the 5 pin stacks, like one at a time. Picked it with one, and I found that I'm actually having a difficult time just getting to one. I'm often going a little too deep, so I don't know exactly where the feel for one is. And then when 3 or 4 would reach the shear line, my pick would slip sometimes, and it'd be like, well, am I on 5 or am I back on 4? I had a really tough time. So through the process of elimination, by picking single pins and then pairing them up with some combinations that I thought would be challenging, like something in 1, something in 3, something in 5, just because 5 is really high, 1 is fairly high, and 3 is nowhere. I've kind of got a feeling for this lock. And it turns out that pin 5 you barely touch, but you have to counter rotate almost all the way back. And some of these rotations, and by the way, with 5 pins in, it rotates quite a bit differently than single pin, so I still had to figure it out with 5 pins in. I've just picked it a couple times now, and I'm going to try and do it on camera. But what I was going to say is that pin 5 catches quite late on the spool when everything else is set or feels set. Maybe 1 and 2 aren't set. And I have to counter rotate so much, and I don't have a lot of springiness in here, so I actually have to physically counter rotate it. By the time I get 5 back, and I've got a pretty good amount of pressure on there, sometimes I overset 5, which means I basically have to start over, but everything else starts to drop. So this has been a very, very challenging lock for me with 5 spools in there, and it's been an excellent learning experience at kind of try to get a feel for what spools are like, and disassembly, reassembly. Just, I've learned a lot from this lock. Unfortunately, what I've learned most probably is how to pick this lock. And we're about to put that to the test. I'm not confident that I'll be able to pick this on camera, but I'll give it my best. So what I've learned is kind of the picking sequence as well. And I'm going to skip most of the pins So the 3 is the first binder. So when I go in, 1 is rubbing, but it's not binding. 2 is loose, and then I get to 3. And 3 recalls that very low pin. So I just try and get around 3. And there's that tiny little click, which brings me into a false set. And I don't know if I'm on 4 or 5 right now. Like, I don't know which of the spools I've hung up on. But 4 gives me a little click as well. So this is 4 I'm on right now. And I just basically want to get past 4 and find 5. And oftentimes 5 will give me another little false set there. It didn't this time, which leads me to believe that I'm not going to do it right. But there we have it. I should be at pin 5. It's very difficult for me to find because there's nothing to really feel. But I think I'm at the depth for pin 5. So I'm going to slowly counter rotate with minimal pressure. And I got 2 clicks there, which I think is probably too many. Because I had so much pressure and I counter rotated quickly, I think I may have overset it. So if I go back in now, yeah, I don't feel a single thing binding. So I'm going to try and rotate 5 up a little bit more. And nothing dropped. None of my pins. None of my pins are binding. So I'm stuck on something. So I'm going to counter rotate and let something fall. I heard something click there. I don't know what it was. Let me feel for it. It was 3 again. So let me grab 3 there. 4 seems to be binding a little bit. Let me get past it. Okay, I'm past 4. And I should be on 5. So let me try my little trick with 5 again. 1 click, 2 clicks. That's all I want. Now I can feel pin 1 or 2 binding, so I'm going to give them some attention. So 1 is definitely set, and I heard some stuff kind of drop. Let me try 2. I can hear more stuff dropping. The mic's pretty good on this camera, so you may have heard it as well. Nothing really feels like it's down. Let me just give a little more attention to pin 1 and 2. Another thing I've been fooling around with a lot is my tensioning tool, this wiper insert, just figuring out how much tension to put on there. I find if I put a lot of tension and I don't counter rotate properly, then I just tend up like a lot of tension, and then once it clicks, once it sets, I overset. So very, very challenging. Okay, I'm not feeling anything. Let me drop some stuff. See what fell there. Not 1, not 2. It was not 3. Nothing. 1's loose, 2's loose, 3's binding. A little false set there. Get past 4. Just real easy. Come on. Oh, I'm sure that's too much. And there's 5 again. So let me just counter rotate. A little click out of 5. Nothing there. Hopefully that was 4 that fell, since I believe I overset it. It feels like 2 is down. Let me give 2 some attention here. Okay, so I just felt it counter rotate and kind of sit. So I think I'm up on a ledge of that spool. And if I give it a little more, there we dropped. I'm going to go to pin 1, which I haven't set yet. It's the only pin that I haven't really touched yet. Getting some counter rotation. Let me manually counter rotate. Okay, pin 1 is up. Maybe not far enough, I'm not sure. Give it a little more. Oh, I'm going to lose my insert. Pin 4. And 5 dropped as well. There's that little false set that I've been getting out of 5. That's a good sign. Slowly counter rotate. I don't think I've really quite set 5 there. So as you can see, I'm having a heck of a time with this lock. And you know, so I'd really like some suggestions for people for feel and tension. And if anyone else has some of these Sparrows practice locks, throw 5 of the Sparrows spools in there and pick it and let me know, maybe tag me or leave a comment below. Let me know what you did and what you're feeling, because really this one's been very tough for me. All right, I feel two binding again, which sometimes means I'm on the right track. Get under it there. Oh, I'm having a real tough time getting under 2. There, we got some counter rotation, and 2 is set. Let me try 1. Oops, slipped off of it. There, so I've set 1 and 2 now. You bugger. So I keep playing this game with 5 and 2, where when I set 1, the other one drops, and then I go back and set it, and it drops the previous one. Get 1 a little more. There we go. Oh man, I didn't think I was going to get it. All right, so just to show you, in case you're stuck around, because that was a very long video, very challenging for me. Let me pull this. Get the key out of there so it stays locked while I'm... Oh, come on. While I'm disassembling it. I'm trying to hurry because I know this video is long. All right. You'll recall 2 is the one that I had that spring screw up before. So, good news, 5 pins. And if I can bring it in, I'm not sure how the focus works, but you can see probably at this point, look at pin 3, barely at all down. Pin 2, not very far either, but pin 5 way down there, and pin 1's a decent distance too. And we'll pull out the spools. All 5 of them are spools. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I noticed in watching some of my previous videos that when I bring this up to the camera, it doesn't really tend to focus well. So let me see if I can zoom. There's no focus button. So anyway, there you see 5 spools. I didn't pull the key pins. I've already shown you the key, and I've shown you the pins inside of the key, or inside of the Bible, so hopefully that's enough. Or sorry, inside of the core. So anyway, I really look forward to some comments and suggestions to help me improve. I know practice, practice, practice. Anyway, if you like what you've seen here today, and if you didn't, I don't blame you, please subscribe. But please leave me some comments and suggestions. Thank you very much for watching Picking Principles. Have a great day.